Welcome to another episode of the AI-driven Swebbcast. The source content is all Swebb, but the interpretation and presentation is all AI. Swebb is a productive disruptor for leaders and teams in churches and marketplace organizations. His goal is to make you better first, make you a friend later. Swebb serves leaders and executive teams around the world, primarily focused on helping organizations maximize what they say they want to do. He drives you to execute on your expectations, even if it hurts your ego. He's not here to please everyone, nor does he seek validation. But if you're serious about elevating your leadership and team performance, you'll know where to find him. Connect with Swebb at swebb.fyi or on Instagram at swebbfyi.
All right, everybody, welcome back. You ready to dive in?
Let's do it. I love this topic.
Me too. Time. It feels like it's always slipping away. But today we're talking about being on time. Well, or not being on time, being late.
Yes, being late. The art of being late. Or maybe the not-so art.
Exactly. We're doing a deep dive on this list of 5 things about being late that I found. I think it's going to be pretty interesting.
I'm intrigued. What's the first thing on the list?
Okay, so the first one is the boss doesn't get a pass.
Oh, that's a good one. It's so true.
Right. Like when you're sitting there and everyone else in the meeting is on time, but the boss waltzes in 10 minutes late like it's no big deal.
Oh, yes. It's like this unspoken power dynamic whose time is more valuable, you know? And it's almost like they're saying their time is more important than yours just by being late.
Totally.
Ew.
Have you ever felt that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think we all have at some point, right? It's
Yeah.
subtle, but it's definitely there.
For sure. And the list actually talks about that a little bit, how like everyone's schedules are so packed these days and there's this pressure to overachieve and do more and more, and we just don't have any margin in our days.
Yeah, it's a recipe for running behind. I think that's why we all have our go-to excuses, too.
Oh, absolutely. Which brings us to the next point. Things happen, yes, so prepare.
I love that. So true.
It's like, okay, traffic happens, flat tires happen, but most of the time we could probably avoid being late if we were just a little more prepared.
A little more proactive, yeah. Like, use a navigation app, check the traffic before you leave, build in some extra time just in case.
Totally. You know what I do? I always add an extra 15 minutes to my travel time estimates, just to be safe.
That's smart. It takes the pressure off.
Exactly. Now, they do mention that sometimes there are these totally unavoidable delays. They even say, like, what if a meteor hit your car?
Okay, well, hopefully no one's actually dealing with meteor strikes.
Yeah, probably not. But you get the point, right? Like sometimes stuff happens that's truly outside of your control.
And in those situations, it's all about communication.
Which is the third point.
Yeah.
Communicate delays ASCP, not right before arrival.
That's huge.
Right. It's the difference between like, hey, I'm so sorry, I'm running about 15 minutes behind, traffic is crazy, versus boosting through the door half an hour late with no warning.
Totally. And I think people are generally pretty understanding when you give them a heads up.
For sure. You know, the point that really got me thinking was number 4. It says, consistent lateness is a choice, not a character flaw.
That's a really interesting way to put it.
Right. Because we often think of people who are chronically late as just like flaky or disorganized. But this is saying it's actually a series of choices.
And I think it goes back to that idea of respect, too. If you're consistently late, it's like you're saying your time is more important than the other person's.
Absolutely. And that can really damage relationships over time.
It's true.
And then the last point ties everything together nicely. It says, build a reputation of punctuality.
Because when you're known for being on time.
Yeah, it's like you build up this trust. And if something truly does happen and you're running late, people are more likely to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly.
So what do you think? Is being on time more about minutes or more about something deeper?
I think it's about so much more than just minutes. It's about respect, responsibility, and self-awareness.
Totally. And honestly, sometimes it's about meteor strikes too.
Hey, you never know. But I guess the takeaway here is to plan to be early, and then you're covered either way.
Well said. On that note, we're going to wrap up for today. Big thanks to our listeners for tuning in to another deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
And for everyone listening, think about how shifting your perspective on punctuality might just change everything. Until next time, stay curious.
Are you going to do something with what you just heard? Or are you just trying to be entertained? Share this episode, then connect with Swebb. Bring him to your headquarters or visit him in Austin, Texas. You, doing all you said you'd do, that's what the church and the world needs.